Alright, so we got quite the chapter here today. And that's because I'm pretty sure the secret backstory of Saitama's final opponent, the final boss of One Punch Man, the character known as God, is being revealed and explained in this chapter. And if you're thinking like, wait, is it during all of this cube and cruel dragon stuff? And yes, it is. Because I think all of that stuff is supposed to be analogous to the character God. And this is essentially hiding in plain sight, I suppose. Which is something that the creator of the series, likes to do from time to time. I mean, he really is a great writer. And before I go further, let me also just say that this is all just my opinion. It's not confirmed. I came across this from tons of research and going over a bunch of stuff. So take it with a grain of salt, of course. But anyway, in the beginning of this chapter, Saitama runs into these knight-looking guys fighting against these demonic martial artists. And they eventually tell him that, according to legend, a colossal dragon once ascended upon Earth. And just a few days, it took countless lives and scorched the land. And as a result of its actions, it became known as the Cruel Dragon. So I think the Cruel Dragon is supposed to be God, or represent the story of God. Meaning that, wherever God came from, I don't know, out in the universe, the galaxy, or whatever, this is supposed to be when he came to Earth. Or, to be honest, it could represent multiple planets that he came to, or just whatever main part of the galaxy or universe or whatever. I don't really know. I'm going to assume it's more so space-based at this point, considering what we're going to be talking about next. Because going further, the Night Guy says that ancient soldiers gathered together and with a great many sacrifices managed to weaken the Cruel Dragon. Sealing orbs scattered the dragon's chi into 9 stones and sealed them in shrines in various places. So I think this is the biggest smoking gun here, and it's the 9 stones, because these stones obviously look like the cubes. I mean, they are cubes just with these little bubble things on them. But the cubes that Blast is looking for, that Saitama, Flashy Flash, and Monako found underneath the Monster Association, when you touch them, you're able to communicate with God. I think that this is what happened to God back in the day, however long ago it happened. Ancient soldiers, whoever they were, I don't know. Maybe they were the original team that Blast is currently on, with those other presumably alien characters. I mean, at least definitely one of them is an alien, since it looks like Boros, but you know what I mean. Maybe there was always this galactic police force or whatever out there. And they all got together, fought against this ultimate cosmic devil and God, weakened him, and then sealed his quote-unquote chi, as it says here with the dragon, into 9 stones. Now, they sealed his, I guess, energy or life force or whatever into those cubes and then scattered them across the universe. And that makes sense because I think we did see God's physical, tangible form, and it's in the moon. Because when Saitama was fighting Garo, they collided those serious punches, and Blast and his Guardians of the Galaxy diverted the energy to Jupiter. And we got that perspective of the moon, and we saw that crater in it with that backbone sticking out. And we were all thinking what is that? And I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be God, but it's his physical form that crashed into the moon somehow. Maybe after he was defeated, having his chi scattered into those cubes. So that's 2, and we have a third instance of God being represented. I mean, outside of him talking to people with Homeless Emperor, but it's him trying to go through that seal, quote unquote, that Blast and his Guardians of the Galaxies are also repairing and protecting. And I'll go more into that later. But considering that we have those 3 instances of God being separated from a complete form, I think that also goes into the 3 forms of God that we see, the circulatory form in front of Homeless Emperor, the meaty form in front of Homeless Emperor, and then the almost, I guess, completed form that stood on top of the moon. And then there's that 4th one that we saw in the fetal position that Saitama and Flash were able to see. But I digress. Going further, it says the duty of watching over the Cruel Dragon seals was passed on to our branch known as the Saints. And I think the Saints is, the Guardians of the Galaxy that Blast is working with. Now, I don't know if they're officially called the Saints, but I'm going to call them the Saints for now because it's a nice little placeholder. Real quick, guys, can you follow me on TikTok, please? Yes, I do have a TikTok, and I've been uploading on it for the last couple months now. I have over 200 250 followers right now, so thank you guys who are following me. But if you don't have time to watch my full videos during the day on YouTube, you can head over to TikTok and just catch me talking about the main stuff that happens in all of the series in like around 90 seconds or so. Also, please don't leave YouTube if you're going to TikTok. I don't want to divert traffic away from YouTube. But yeah, thanks guys, I appreciate it. And then it says that those who believe themselves to be dragonborn and are plotting to revive this sealed cruel dragon belong to an organization known as Deathbone. Now, I don't know if there's like literally an analog to Deathbone out there right now, like for God directly, the way that there is like the Guardians of the Galaxy with Blast, you know? But I think Deathbone more so represents the multiple factions on Earth that are indirectly working together to resurrect God, such as like Tsukuyomi with the Espers, Organization with the Cyborgs, and, you know, the defunct Monster Association. But those represented the three paths of God as well. So they all could be Deathbone, but earlier it's mentioned that there's like 9 warriors of the Dragon Alliance. Like Saitama defeats one of them in the beginning. And I think that that could be hinting at like the 9 final disciples that God will have in the last arc that I've been talking about for a while now. Like God's anti-S class, I guess you could say. Like in theory, it could be like Apollo from Tsukuyomi, Phoenix Man, Black S, you know, characters like that. Drive Knight, you know, the usual suspects. But going further, they also say that this antagonism surrounding the cruel dragon seals has continued for 800 years. And I also think that's going into how long the battle with God has been going on, because we saw that it goes all the way back to like Egyptian times. So more than 800 years at least for God's story, probably thousands of years, at least on a cosmic scale alone, not just counting like thousands of years on Earth. But after this, Saitama and the Knights are able to like interrogate one of these Deathbone members. And then Saitama asks him like, you know, so when will the Dragon Lord be resurrected? And the Deathbone guy's like, I don't know, maybe in like 10 years, maybe like 100. And I also think this is like a parallel to God, of course, with it ultimately coming down to when Orochi will be born amongst the monsters, and when he will make his way to the altar and be placed on it, or when all of the cubes, however many there are collected. And I guess that resurrects him as well, which is why Blast is trying to stop that from happening by collecting them himself. The Deathbone guy also says that Lord Cruel Dragon has also been waiting for the seals to become weaker. And that goes back to what I was saying with Blast and his group repairing and protecting that seal in another dimension that's like holding God in place, whether it's like his soul or like his chi or life force or whatever, his essence. And then he finally says, in the off chance that Deathbone is wiped out, those who inherit our will shall appear and realize the revival. So that for sure is talking about Orochi, because we saw that on the altar underneath the Monster Association, there's a prophecy that Orochi will eventually be born. And when Orochi was born, he instinctively sought to go to the center of the earth to like suck the core of its energy, but he wound up finding the altar on his way there, which is not a coincidence. It's because it's like in his DNA, essentially, to do that. So Saitama's kind of gotten sick of this, and he just asks the Saints for all of the quick details, and he decides to speedrun collecting all 9 stones and bring back the dragon just so he can defeat it and get it out of the way. And he does that, and we see the dragon, and it's pretty cool. Also, if you look at its eyes, they look like sunken in craters with like an orb or something at the bottom of them. And it goes back to what I was saying about when we saw God in the moon. I think that's supposed to represent that. Possibly, maybe? I don't know. But of course, Saitama just one punches the cruel dragon. And I don't know how strong this thing was. It's probably dragon level, you know. Cruel dragon, why not? But then we cut to Saitama with King, and it makes you think like, was this a dream sequence? And it's like, no, it definitely wasn't. We saw the cruel dragon temple emerge from the ocean during Garo and Saitama's fight, so it's like that did actually happen, and it's all real stuff. And I think it's probably going to come back into play, at least with those temples, because why would we see that if it would just leading to this pseudo gag moment? But Flashy Flash shows up at Saitama's apartment, asking him to help him find Minako, because Flashy Flash thinks that Minako has information on God, which clearly she doesn't, but I'm pretty sure we're led to believe that Flashy Flash like has feelings for Minako and is looking for her to protect her, you know, keep her safe, because he saw how vulnerable she is. Especially like when My Mask saw her, he almost killed her instantly. And it's understandable given their time together in the Monster Association arc. But then Flashy Flash says, I want even the smallest of clues regarding this god that Blast fought. I have a feeling that with just a few more small pieces, we can uncover a massive secret of this god. A secret so big it could shake the ground under our feet. And in my opinion, I think that this is a little meta dialogue from One here, talking about this chapter itself. You know, with the beginning, all of that Deathbone stuff actually paralleling to the truth about God. I think that's what this dialogue for Flashy Flash is supposed to represent here. But of course, Saitama is not taking this seriously, and he's goofing around with Flashy Flash, who is asking him to become his disciple because he sees potential in him. Obviously, Flashy Flash is still in heavy delusion, despite seeing for himself that Saitama was much stronger than him. So it just gets to the point at the end of the chapter where Flashy Flash just challenges Saitama to a fight. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen in the next chapter. We're going to see them square off, and considering that we already saw what happened when they faced off against each other before, we already know what's going to happen. I mean, it wasn't like a full-blown fight before. It was kind of just Flashy Flash attacking Saitama. But now we're going to see like, I don't know, like a full-blown, let's just say almost to the death fight possibly. And maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe it'll lead to something even more interesting. But let me know what you think about this chapter in the comments, guys. And if you liked the video, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.